In this video, I'm going to talk about the Tier 3 program narrative requirements. This process, if you have any questions, you can talk to Sean and he can help you with drafting the narrative or with the data that is utilized for the Tier 3 program narrative report. So the first thing you can do is go to z.umn.edu/Kelsey in a web browser. The Google site will prompt and you will be able to click on PERCA 2020/2022 in the top navigation bar. When you scroll down, you will see a variety of information regarding the PERCA review cycle. We're going to scroll down to number 3 and talk only about the Tier 3 program narrative report. So you will see there is the program narrative guidance revised. You will want to click on that, and this is your guidance for writing the report. You will see the data analysis needs to be done for the 2016-2017 academic year for sure, and if you have data for the 2017-18 academic year, you can also include that. You can enter your report directly into ePass, but it is advised to first do it in Word and then just copy and paste it into ePass. This can be entered under the program narrative section. So if you go online to ePass, you can go to z.umn.edu/epass login. It'll prompt you to this login screen, and you will log in with the information you created your account. This screen will appear. You will click on ePass. Then when you get to this page, you will scroll to the content report aligned with your program. And you'll notice I have put names next to each report. So if you click on health, for example, you will scroll down, you will see program narrative over here in the left navigation under continuous improvement. And this is where your response would be entered, and you would click save at the bottom. You will also see here your previous response, and so that can be helpful to you too. Additionally, on the program approval spreadsheet, you will see the program, the approval status, and you will see at the very end the last program narrative response Tier 3 report from the last cycle in a Word doc if you would prefer to work off of that document and then move it into ePass. If you are not comfortable putting it into ePass or need support on that, you can work with myself or Sean to send us a Word doc and we can copy and paste it into ePass through this cycle, or if you want to meet with us while you're doing it, that is perfectly fine too. So we're just going to briefly go through a refresher. I know we talked about this in the training, but make sure you know what you need to be entering for this cycle. So question 1 is the alumni data, the transition to teaching after teaching for a year. So you will see the alignment of this data to the survey that Sean just sent out last spring for the 16-17 year. That is only the data that we will have with this sample for this report. So you will see the data is linked here, and you can look at that raw data. And you will see some guidance for you. So the data from the alumni survey is only available at the unit response and cannot be disaggregated by licensure area. So the program coordinators went through and completed the narrative for the unit level. And so you'll see this response in red. That would simply be copied and pasted into your Tier 3 program narrative response. After you do that and you read it, you will then need to respond with a reflection on specifically to your licensure program. So you can then do that response. Next, you will see the supervisor survey. Again, you will see the data This is also collected at a unit level, so the program coordinators created a unit level response in red that you will just copy and paste into your report, and then you will make a comment on the data based specifically on your licensure area. Number 3 is the data question, and this is the big question of the report that requires some analysis on your part. This requires you to talk about how you analyze it, summary of the data aligned to the standards that you have linked your key assessments to, and then also MTLE and EdTPA and strengths and weaknesses aligned to your program from the data. So we have a website here that you can see your data for your program. So if we click on STEP for an example, same for early childhood and UECSE, it's all structured the same. You will see key assessments, and then you will see the lesson plan, the unit plan, and the student teaching evaluation. You will notice there's a rubric linked on what the evaluative tool is, and then the data by licensure area, so you can respond to Tier 3. STEP has a few extra key assessments, the collaborative exit interview, and then for PE there's a few extras, and you can see that data there too and comment on that. EdTPA, you'll see here is the EdTPA data. The unit level will give you the percentage. It needs to be at a 70% or higher by task. And then the program level will give you the breakdown showing specific student data without the student's name. So you can see how the students are doing if they're struggling on one task or another, and see the subcomponents of the task scores. MTLE, you'll see the unit and you can look at that. It needs to be 80% or higher. And then if you're below 80%, you can look at the major specific and comment on that. If you have a low N for key assessments, MTLE, or EdTPA, you need to address that. Indicate why your N is so low and what your N is. And also, if you can combine multiple years, you can work with Sean to do that. So those are the 3 primary components for Tier 3, Question 3. When responding to the key assessment data, it's really important to make sure that you align your response to the standards you've linked that course to. So you can look on the response from last year that we referenced earlier in this spreadsheet to see what those standards are. You can also look in EPAS under the candidate competency to see what those standards are, or you can look at the document that Lisa emailed you indicating the previous cycle key assessments and response to the program narrative. And then you reflect on all that data, areas of strength, areas of a program improvement. Number 4, you will identify your program advisory group, talk about your data that you've discussed at CACTE and Administrative Advisory Council, and also areas of feedback, areas of weakness. So you'll see the data is right here. You can access by licensure area. You will be able to click here and it'll pull up a link that you can access your program development and capacity doc by program. And so you can just click on art, for example, and it'll show who we have identified as those people. And you can add those people in to your response. Then we made a unit response on how we analyze data with CACTE and Program Advisory Board. So that is right here. That can be just copy and pasted in. And then number 4 is responding to the specific data. What was discussed? What were some of the areas of strength, areas of improvement, and how is that going to impact your program? Number 5 is looking at a couple of things. One thing is, if you were put on a continuous improvement focus, you are required to comment on that in this reporting cycle from the last cycle, and a lot of our programs were, And 2 is looking at the goals you established in the last cycle and reporting out progress, struggles in relation to those goals. So there's a little guidance here. Step 1, you can click here to see the previous report, again by licensure area. So you will look for the PRP report column. You will click on that, and it will show you what the program review panel told you in the last cycle that you were missing. And so you can comment on those items in the question response of this cycle. Step 2 is looking at the goals from the previous cycle. Again, you can look at your previous report in column K here to see what your goals were, or you can also access it directly in ePass under the program narrative section to see what your goals are. And you can comment on those goals, what progress you've made, what progress you haven't made, any information regarding those goals. And then number 6 is looking at all the responses from 1 through 5, your goals from last year, and identifying specific goals for your licensure period, for your licensure program for the 2020-2022 cycle. These goals have to be something that can be measurable, and something that you can, look at and work towards as a program in the next 2-year cycle. PELSP does recommend SMART goals, and so just being mindful, some of the goals can be the same as the last cycle if you haven't necessarily made the progress that you wanted to in that cycle, and some could be completely different. So you will draft your response to all these questions in a Word document. Then you will go into ePass and copy and paste that response in each of these boxes and hit save. You want to be mindful the maximum characters is 8,000 characters, including spaces. So when you're using Word, making sure you stay within that limit. Once you are done, you will just hit save, and you will be good to go. If you have any questions regarding this process in terms of data or program narrative and what to be writing, you can talk to Sean. If you have questions about navigating ePass, navigating the Google site, the Google document, please contact Lisa and we can help you through this process. Thank you so much for all your hard work.